and welcome to another episode of Instant Impact with Elyse Archer. I am your host, Elyse. I'm so happy to be here with you today, and I think you are going to get so much out of today's episode and this interview I have with my incredible guest, who I will tell you about momentarily. But I'll tell you why I wanted to have this conversation. You know, there are so many ways you can grow your brand and your business and your social media these days, right? It's like everywhere you turn, there's a new social media platform popping up, and you're wondering, you know, where do I focus? Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram? Is it TikTok? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Pinterest? Is it YouTube? Is it something else that I'm forgetting and not thinking of? Well, they can all work. And one of the things that has been most foundational for me in the success of my two businesses now since I left corporate in 2015 has been really going all in on LinkedIn. And it's interesting, coming from the sales world, I thought everyone was using LinkedIn because that was the primary platform that people used for connecting with prospects and clients. And then when I got more into working with entrepreneurs, I found that there was just a lot of them who weren't leveraging this platform. And I think it's a real competitive advantage for someone who needs to connect directly with potential clients, business partners, building your brand as well. There's, in terms of engagement and opportunity, right now, LinkedIn, I think, has some of the best organic exposure out there. So there's so much opportunity for the person who knows how to do it the right way. And with that said, that's part of why I wanted to bring on my guest today. So my guest is Scott Aaron. He's an internationally acclaimed network marketer, an author, a speaker, a podcaster, and he also does a lot of LinkedIn coaching and consulting for high-level business coaches, mastermind leaders, speakers, you name it. And Scott, part of why I loved this conversation with him, and I wasn't expecting to get this, but he has such an interesting, powerful backstory of going from having millions to losing millions, and marriage and divorce and filing for bankruptcy and starting over, and how he's built his business. And there's such a story of resilience in here, to look at where he is today and how successful he is. A lot of times you wouldn't know that there's the backstory that there is, but he shares it, and you're going to get a lot of good lessons just from how he approached each obstacle. So the first part that I love about this is his personal story. And then the second piece that I really love is how tactical we get into leveraging LinkedIn. And he's going to give you 4 key things and strategies you should be focusing on to grow your LinkedIn in 2020 and beyond. And they're so good. So this is a great one to be writing notes with, to be in a place where you can focus on what he's saying, because I'm going to be taking a lot of what he talked about and applying it in my own business. And I think you'll want to do the same. So get ready, because there's so much value in here. And I think you're going to get so many great ideas for your business and for your social media. And with that, let's welcome to the show, Scott Aaron. Scott, it is so good to have you on the podcast today. And like we were talking about in the pre-chat, like for me, sometimes these podcast interviews are selfish because I feel like I'm getting almost like private coaching from someone who's really an expert in the space. And I feel that with you when it comes to business growth and LinkedIn. So I'm just super excited to have you sharing your wealth of knowledge in those subjects today. So thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Elyse. And it's obviously an honor and a privilege to be here. And it just shows the power of LinkedIn, because that's how you and I actually first connected. And then you came onto my podcast, and now we're here doing this. So the power of connection and the power of LinkedIn is everything to me and my business. So I'm just really grateful to be here.
Absolutely. Well, so I want to get into LinkedIn and some of your tips and strategies for that. But before we do, I would love if you could share a little bit of your backstory. You know, I think you have this really interesting backstory of becoming a millionaire in your 20s. And then it sounds like things kind of shifted. And I'd love to hear like what that experience was like for you, how that happened, and how that has shaped who you are today.
Yeah, my story is, I mean, again, there's people that come from all separate backgrounds, and our story doesn't define us. Our story, kind of propels us to what we're going to do. And for me, my entrepreneurial journey started at a very young age, out of necessity. I was 18 and a half, almost 19. My lineage is a bunch of entrepreneurs. My grandfather, my great grandfather, my father. So it was kind of in my blood, but the way that I was kind of brought into it was kind of unnatural. So to make a long story short, my father had left and broke partnership from a business that he had owned to go work for someone else. And in that experience of working for someone else, he got involved and um, became looked at with involvement in a $9.5 million insurance fraud case, which in the end landed him in federal prison for 24 to 36 months.
Wow.
So that was my introduction into entrepreneurship, because as my father found out that obviously, he pleaded guilty and he was cooperating with the federal government to lessen the charges as much as he could, he prepared my family to leave us something behind so we can continue moving forward. And my father's passion was always fitness. He was a bodybuilder himself, and he bought a failing gym in downtown Philadelphia and then turned the keys over to me when I was a sophomore in college. So I was going to Temple University in downtown Philly, and then I would drive, obviously down every morning, go to class till noon, then drive to the gym. And I would be there from 1 until 9, 10 o'clock at night. And that was my life in my later teenage years. But what I can tell you is I fell in love with health and wellness. I fell in, people ask me all the time, if you could go back and do it over again, would you? And my answer emphatically is always no, because I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for this journey. And understanding that you have to be resilient and you're going to be dealt hands in your life that really don't look good, but sometimes you have to play them anyway and make the best of it, taught me the skill set of what it really meant to be an entrepreneur, which is figuring things out, failing forward as often as you can, and never giving up. And I got my certification in sports nutrition, personal training, group fitness, grew the gym from 300 members to nearly 1,100. By the time my father came back home, we opened up a second gym in 2002. And like you said, in 2003, we actually sold both of the gyms for $1 million. So at 24, I did become a millionaire and continued to personal train. And a year later, we got the bug again to get back into the gym ownership game. And my father wanted to open up another gym, which we did in 2004. That was our third and final location. But because of what transpired 7, 8 years earlier, my mother and father didn't have any credit or couldn't get the funding to actually finance the gym. But I did, since I was unscathed. So everything had to be put into my name. And 3 years after that, I found myself in $1.5 million of liability debt. So it was another learning lesson in business ownership. And I think when people hear entrepreneurship, they think it's all sunshine and rainbows. You're your own boss. And, entrepreneurship is one of the most challenging, but also one of the most rewarding industries to be in. And I consider entrepreneurship an industry because there are people creating things all the time. So for me, on a personal note, between 2006 and 2014, I was married and divorced twice. My second marriage did give me a beautiful, now 7-year-old little boy named Taylor, and also the emotional maturity that came with going through those two relationships. Obviously led me to my now beautiful fiance, Nancy, who we're getting married later this year. But in 2013, a year before my second marriage ended, I said yes to an opportunity in network marketing. And I know some of your listeners are involved or may have been at one time in network marketing. This was probably one of the greatest professional learning lessons of my life. And why is because you hear it all the time. They say network marketing is a personal development journey with a compensation plan attached to it, meaning the more personally developed you become, the more money you will make. So I saw the vision. I didn't believe it was a Ponzi or a pyramid or whatever crap people say about network marketing. I saw it as another stream of income, because as a personal trainer, you're only as good as the amount of hours that you're training people. So if you're not training, you're not earning. And if I was to get injured or sick or fall ill or have to take time off, That means I wasn't going to make money. So I needed to better leverage my time, and network marketing was a perfect fit for that. And I dove in head first, quickly grew a successful business within 2 years, residually to match what I was making as a trainer full time. But more so, my mindset completely shifted. I started reading books. I started listening to podcasts. I started journaling. I started meditating. I started taking action. I started to live this more abundant mindset and started to actually bring that into what I did every day, because it's not faking it till you make it. It's really believing in yourself and the journey and trusting the process and realizing that things don't happen overnight.
Mm.
And for me, the gym, which I loved personal training, I loved health and wellness, and that was the company that I was a part of, a health and wellness based company. But i I woke up one morning and realized that I was living out my father's dream. I was living out my father's dream of owning gyms and being this fitness figure person in Philadelphia, which I was happy to be, but I wanted to do more. And I loved human connection. I had close to 65,000 hours of one-on-one time under my belt. And, I uncovered two scary pieces of information in 2015. One was when I was selling a property that I owned that had about $35,000 worth of equity in it. I was expecting that money to be slid to me in a check at closing, but the check that was slid to me was only $837. And the reason for that was, what I didn't realize, one of the documents that I signed early on was using my house as collateral for the gym's equipment.
Oh man.
So when the house sold, the bank then took whatever money was left owed on the equipment, and I was given the remainder, which was only $837. So at that point, that was the straw that broke the camel's back for my relationship business wise with my father. And I said to him, I came back from closing, I called him into my office, and there was already tension there because the gym wasn't doing great at this point. I said, Dad, if we're going to have the opportunity to salvage our relationship and continue to be father and son, I'm gonna need to go on this journey alone at this point. And we broke partnership. He didn't argue. There was no fight. He packed his bag, he left, and he never came back. And he still is personal training to this day at 67. He still competes around the world in global bench press contests. I mean, he's doing amazing things. And, he fully supports me. I fully support him. And it was the best decision that I could have made for the both of us, because it allowed me to finally realize that I was now in full control of the destiny of my life and where I was going to go. And when I realized that I had just signed a year prior a 5-year extension on the lease of this gym, it was this overwhelming feeling of having to be committed to this for another 4 years. But I also realized that I was the guarantor of the lease. So even if I wanted to close the gym, I was on the hook for every dollar that was owed to my landlords. And the gym was losing about $2,000 a month. My network marketing company and business that I had, plus the LinkedIn coaching program that I had launched in early 2016, was funding the gym's loss every single month. And it just wasn't becoming worth it. I was just getting by. So I sat down with my business attorney, and he said, you have two options. Option A is to continue down this road of funding the gym the way that you are, or you file for personal bankruptcy. He said, that's the only way that you can get that guarantorship off your back.
Mm.
So when I heard the word bankruptcy, I didn't hear your life is over. I heard your life is about to begin, because this was going to be my opportunity to fully step into my power and really grow and control my life and follow my dreams and my destiny and my calling. So on July 1st of 2016, nearly 4 years ago, I filed for personal bankruptcy, closed the gym 30 days later, left a note on the door thanking my staff, my employees, my instructors, my gym members for their 12 years of service and dedication. And on August 1st was the first day since 1998, so nearly 18 years, that I stepped into my power of living life on my own terms. And I haven't looked back since. And I always share this story with people because, Elyse, the saying, everyone sees the glory, but they don't know the story. And, within that 18-year time period, I had to deal with my father's incarceration. I had to deal with losing millions, making millions, being divorced twice, like all of these personal things that I had to go through, but nothing stopped me. I wasn't blind to those things. I did not sweep them under the rug. I learned from them. And that's what truly propelled me forward. And I know now that entrepreneurship is not a straight line. It's a bumpy road. There's going to be twists and turns and detours. But as long as you're moving forward in some way, shape, or form, you're going to figure it out, because all of those failures are lessons of how to learn to succeed in entrepreneurship. And that's what I inspire to teach each and every person that I work with, whether it's one-on-one or group coaching or when I speak. It's about believing in yourself and knowing that if you follow your dreams and your aspirations and you stay in the game long enough, you will figure out what you need to do to succeed.
Oh my gosh. So many pieces of your story gave me chills. And as I kind of reflect back, it's like the through line that I think has defined a lot of your life in these big pivotal moments is the bravery of thinking for yourself. Whether it was deciding that you didn't have to follow in your father's path just because that was what you had started doing initially, whether it was redefining the bankruptcy to be your fresh start, your new beginning, and even the way that you grew and approached your network marketing business and using LinkedIn. And we'll get into that in a minute. It's like you've thought for yourself and made your own conclusions about what matters to you in your life, how you're going to lead your life, and not been so consumed and worried about what other people think, which I think it's one of the hardest things for us to do. And it can also be one of the most freeing. So gosh, I appreciate you sharing all of that and sharing the behind the scenes of what got you here. Cause you're right. We always see the mountaintop moments. And one of the things I've been trying to do on the podcast lately is just really dig into, well, what were the biggest challenges that you've run into? Because we don't see those on social media the way we see everything else. So,
I feel transparency is something that is very, it's one of those things where people need to do more of it. And I saw this in network marketing, and I think that's what really, it pushed me and inspired me to continue down this journey, because I kept seeing all these people on the stage, sharing some of their story, but not all of it. They were sharing the story of maybe things that they had to go through, but they were just making the whole journey seem so easy. It was just so, I was in this really bad place and I decided, like, there was no, well, how did you do it? And I feel that the more honest, the more transparent, the more open that I was, the more that I would naturally give people that were listening to my story permission to acknowledge their story, to have their story empower themselves to motivate others. Because everyone right now, we're in this social media egoic time period where everyone has to show success. They have to show the positivity and all the great things of their life and the happiness that they're having every day with their kids and their husband and their wife. And no one wants to talk about the downtime. No one wants to talk about the struggles or the things that you've had to overcome. It's this interpretation that, again, life is all sunshine and rainbows. And, in your mind, it could be 70 and sunny every single day, which is great. But in the reality, you're going to have things that come up. And I think that the more real you are with people, whether it's just a normal conversation or a podcast or a speaking event or just rubbing shoulders with others, the more real that you are, the more humanizing you make yourself. And there's a lot of people that are putting themselves on these social media pedestals where they're talking down to people. And that's not the way that you want to present yourself. You are just like everybody else. And some people are at different income levels, people are on different journeys, but we're all the same. We all wake up, we all go to bed, we all brush our teeth, we all take showers, we all do those things every single day. So comparing yourself and obviously letting that social media ego get the best of you is only going to stop you from really succeeding. But for those people that are succeeding, it's your job now to not let that social media ego shine. It's the humanizing side of you that should be shining, giving those people that don't believe in themselves yet, giving those people that aren't sure about what they want to do permission to go on that journey like you did, and really putting yourself in the shoes of those people that where where you were 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and give them permission to go down that road, to figure those things out, to learn those lessons, to empower, inspire others. And I think that's what this entrepreneurial space needs more of, that raw and truthful and genuine realness with people that are on social media.
Yeah. Amen. Amen, brother. Amen to all of that. I can't say anything else because you just said it all. Tell us about, so, you know, you made this transition. I know you said in 2016, you started teaching LinkedIn, and I'm curious too, because I want to kind of get into, I don't want you to share it all because obviously that's part of what people pay you for, but I want to get into some of just LinkedIn best practices. But
Yeah.
tell us about, how did you make that transition? Because I understand now in your business, obviously you've done a lot of work in the network marketing space. You've taught network marketers how to use LinkedIn, but really you're teaching a lot of high level business coaches, mastermind leaders, speakers, coaches, consultants, how to
Yep.
leverage it. How did you make that transition and get into this part of your business now?
What I love, and this is the great thing about some of the greatest ideas happen by accident. So for me, I was kind of pushed into this. So when I was growing my network marketing business, I had a massive amount of success on Facebook first. And if anybody remembers what Facebook was like in 2013, 2014, 2015, it was literally like an open market to sell whatever you want to without having a business page. Like literally, it was just a free for all. And I got a lot of success. And it was interesting, towards the end of 2014, beginning of 2015, things started to slow down. I wasn't having that many conversations like I was having before, but I also realized that the caliber of person that I was bringing into my business was not the type of person that I wanted in my business. And I remember there were two things that were happening. Number one, I was at a personal development event, and the organizer of the event was on stage, and he called some of the top leaders that were in the audience up on stage. And these were people that were high achievers. They were making multiple 6 and 7 figures in their businesses. And he gave them a little dry erase marker, and they said, go to this board and write down the amount of conversations that you've had over the years to get to where you are. And the smallest number I saw was 7,000 conversations. So when I saw that number, I said, well, I'm going to need to pivot, because Facebook only allows you 5,000 friends, and Instagram is literally the Bravo of social media. It's where people go. They're just on there for reality TV show purposes. They're just watching people's lives. No one is logging on. And listen, for those that are listening to this that have had success on there, and you may still be, I'm just letting you know, people do not wake up and go on to Instagram and Facebook looking for a network marketing opportunity. That's not their purpose for why they're
We're
going on
bursting
there.
the bubble.
Yes. So, and I'm sorry to do that. So when I realized that I needed to make a pivot, I also remember that I had LinkedIn, and I remember something that my first mentor said to me. And she said to me, she goes, Scott, listen, every day when you wake up, you need to look yourself in the mirror, and you have to ask yourself, how am I going to connect and recruit myself today? And it was like this light bulb moment. I'm like, oh my God, that's it. I'm looking for the mirror image of me from a business standpoint.
Mm.
So other trainers, other gym owners, other nutritionists like me, and I wasn't finding them on Facebook and Instagram because that's not where they were. I needed to be on a business platform. So in late 2015, around August of 2015, I jumped full-fledged into LinkedIn. I never took a course. I literally just went on there and I changed my profile around, put some keywords in there. Everything was organic. It was like one of those intuitive things that I just did. I started searching and connecting for other people like me, my mirror image. I started messaging people. People started reaching back. I started booking phone calls. And before I knew it, within a few months, I was having 30, 40 calls a week. And I started enrolling people in my business. And I'm like, this works. So I reached out to a friend of mine and I said, Joey, listen, you got to get on LinkedIn and do these few things and shoot me a text message in a couple of weeks and let me know what happens. So 2 weeks later, he texted me and he said, call me. So I called him and I said, what's up? And he goes, dude, whatever you're doing, it's working. He goes, I have 14 calls booked this week. He goes, you should be teaching this. He goes, this is something
that no one is teaching in network marketing. And everyone quote unquote teaches LinkedIn. I don't teach LinkedIn. I teach people how to have more connections, the right leads that lead to the right growth in your business. That's basically what I teach. So at the same time, shortly after that conversation with my friend, I was on a live dial phone call. It was with my business coach, and he had a live call that people could call into. And I was doing a little presentation on LinkedIn, going over the demographics and why I felt it was the perfect platform for network marketers. And after I was off that call, I hopped onto Facebook, and I had 8 inboxes of people that wanted to hire me. And for what, I didn't know, because I didn't have anything to actually even offer them, but they all wanted me to teach them LinkedIn. So I basically had to create a business on demand. I had to register a domain name and put up a website and register for a Square account and a PayPal account so I could take payment. And that was the birth of my business. And what I realized, looking back now almost 5 years ago and having a best-selling book from it, patenting the program, trademarking it, licensing it, copyright, like all these things that came from it. So people think I just teach it. Yeah, but I've pumped thousands of dollars and thousands of hours into perfecting this so people get results. But what I really learned is that when there is a large amount of people that are having a similar problem, and you can create a solution to solve that problem, you can grow a great business. Yeah. And what I found was, whether people are in network marketing, business coaching, consulting, running masterminds, they're all seeking one thing. They're all seeking more people. They're all seeking more connection. They're all seeking the right person that sees the value in what they offer. And they're still fishing in these overcrowded ponds of Facebook and Instagram, and they're missing the mark. They're leaving hundreds of thousands of millions of dollars on the table. There was a client that I worked with about 4 months ago. He was in a mastermind that I was in, and he's in construction. So he does masonry. So he goes in and he partners with high level commercial and residential real estate companies that fixing and flipping. And he lives in Detroit. He was looking to specifically target people that he didn't know out of his warm market on LinkedIn. And I taught him, and he texted me 2 weeks ago, and he's had this business for 15 years. He told me that he just closed his biggest contract, and it was $285,000. And that was, and he goes, Scott, he goes, you have no idea what door you have opened for me, but that's for anybody out there. And the people that have the most conversations with the right people are going to grow the most successful businesses, because you're going to be impacting the right people.
Yeah, right on. It's so true. And that's part of why I resonate so much with what you teach, because I came from, sales coaching background where I was working with a lot of professional salespeople, and they're using LinkedIn because they get it, right? They've got Sales Navigator. It's part of their normal process. And then when I moved into more of the personal branding space and working with entrepreneurs, I was shocked that people weren't using it the same way. And everyone was focused on Instagram, and everyone was like Instagram and Facebook, just like you talked about. And we started talking about, well, there's this whole other opportunity here for you on LinkedIn. And it was like, people had never considered, a lot of them hadn't considered that it would make sense to fish there, like you're talking about, and to build their business there. So, for me, I have begrudgingly built an Instagram because I think it's good to have one, right? You want to have a presence, but the vast majority of my business comes from LinkedIn. And so I'd love if you could share, just because it's been interesting to me, because I really got heavy on LinkedIn probably around the same time you did. And I don't know if you've had this experience, but I feel like the algorithm has changed with a lot of stuff, like video, for example. Video is always the best way that I got inbound leads. And I'm seeing my views on those, they've gone down over the past couple of months. So it's like, I'm interested to I'm working on that right now, troubleshooting that in my own business. And then you've got things like LinkedIn Live and all sorts of other things. But just in terms of what you see now, of what's working on LinkedIn, what some of just like maybe top 2 to 3 things you're teaching your clients that you think are important on LinkedIn for 2020, like what would you recommend someone focus on?
Well, I'll give you 4 things, because that's what I always do. I always give people 4 things. And I remember on my podcast, you gave people 6 things. So I'm giving you 4 things.
Perfect. Okay. I'll take it.
And so the one thing I do want to address the whole views of videos and things. Mm-hmm. So again, when you are in that impactful place where you and I alike, we are educators and we are informers. So we thrive on educating and informing an audience, which is what every single person should be doing. That the best content is content that educates and informs. And as educators and informers, I spoke about this early on, the social media ego in us says, if it's not getting likes, if it's not getting engagement, if it's not getting views, then it's crap. And that's just not true. You have to understand that we need to do a better job of being thankful and grateful for these platforms that exist. And again, we don't own our LinkedIn profiles. LinkedIn does. We don't own our Facebook profiles. Facebook does. And we don't own our Instagram profiles. Instagram does. And with the snap of a finger, all of that can be taken away. And I think that's something that every single impactor, influencer, quote unquote, if you want to call yourself that, takes advantage of. And you get pissed off if you're not getting the engagements and the likes. So just for a second, imagine that these three platforms still existed, but there was no like button to click. There was no comment section to leave one. And there was no view counter to show you who's actually looking at it. How differently would you be treating your content? So the way that I treat my content and the way that all of you should be treating your content is that you don't know who's seeing it. You don't know who's liking it, and you don't know who's engaging with it, because everyone that does, whether it's 1 like or 1,000,000 likes, as long as people are engaging in some way, shape, or form, you're moving that needle forward. So don't get caught up in the social media egoic side of what you expect people to do with the content that you're educating and informing on. So I just want to put that out there straight away, because the algorithm's always going to change. You're never in control of it. All these people and this is what really grinds my gears, is all these people, and you see them on LinkedIn, they teach social engagement on LinkedIn. They show you how to get more views on your video. That's BS. Like, that does not exist. They have figured out a way to manipulate the algorithm temporarily, but as soon as LinkedIn catches on to it, just like Facebook and Instagram, they're going to change it. So just do things without expecting anything back in return, aside from just leaving people better. And I'm just going to say that. So that's that piece. Now,
so good.
As far as the 4 things, so the way that I describe LinkedIn, it's like a layer cake. And it starts with the bottom piece, which is the biggest, and then it goes down to the smallest piece at the top of the cake, which is the most important. So at the bottom, the widest part of that cake is your profile. And for people that don't know this, and I have a free download on my website, scottaaron.net, where it's 6 steps to optimize your profile. So when Microsoft bought LinkedIn out 5 years ago, they were ingenious in the fact that they embedded search engine optimization on all of our profiles. So basically, if you want to be known or you want to appear in certain searches, you have to put certain keywords on your profile. And whether it's business coach or mastermind, coach, or, leadership coach, whatever it is, lead generation, you have to have those things sporadically mentioned throughout your profile, whether it's in your headline, whether it's in your summary, your experience section, because if you don't, you're basically invisible on LinkedIn. People are using the search on LinkedIn just like they would Google, Yahoo, and Bing. So people are actually going on to LinkedIn right now and searching for people for something that they require, whether it's a life coach or a business coach. So if that's not on your profile, you are missing the mark. So making sure that every section is filled out, your experience section, your licenses and certifications, if you have them, your educational background, because if you put your school in there, it's going to connect you to other people, alumni-wise, that went to that school that you can start connecting with, but also philanthropic work. So any volunteer experience that you have, skills and endorsements, but the most underrated section on LinkedIn is the recommendation section. So the recommendation section is the Better Business Bureau of LinkedIn. So if you want people to know how great you are at what you're doing, let your audience do that for you. So if anyone goes to my profile, you'll see close to 400 written recommendations of people that I have worked with that say, yes, you should hire Scott. He knows what he's doing. So I don't have to convince people to hire me. My clients are doing that for them. So a simple thing that you can do, and I know you guys are listening to this, but here's the easiest thing to do. Everyone has connections on LinkedIn that you know, like, and trust already. This could be current colleagues, former colleagues, current clients, past clients. If you go to your profile and you go to security and privacy and you click on that, it's going to open up a separate window on LinkedIn where it's going to ask you on the left-hand side, it's going to ask you a question. The third one down, it says how LinkedIn uses your data. You click on that, and then you're going to click on something that says get a copy of my data. And when you click on that, it's going to open up a separate box and it's going to ask you, do you want something specific? And you're going to click yes. And then there's a little section where you can download whatever you want. You want to click connections and then type in your password, and it's going to download an Excel CSV file of every single connection that you have. So the suggestion I have for everyone to do this, once that's downloaded and printed out, you highlight every single person that you know, personally and professionally, that you know would vouch for you, and write you a recommendation. You go to the recommendation section, and all you have to do is you click ask for recommendation, and you start going down this list, and you start typing names, and you start asking your friends and colleagues to write you recommendations. I don't care if there's 200 people that you want to ask. You ask 200 people, chances are you're going to get 40, 50 people that are recommending you. That's going to add to your clout. So again, you stand out as the leader that you are. So that's my recommendation on your profile.
So good. So good. Thank you. I love that.
Number two is actually building your network. And the best thing to do is to first define the avatar of who you want to connect with. So I take people through an exercise, and it's something that you can do with yourself, is write down the top 2 or 3 professions and or job titles that are most suited for the product, good, or service that you provide. And once you do this, then it's going to help you use the search to actually connect with those people. But just remember this, whatever you're searching for. So if you're searching for people in HR, you're searching for people that are CEOs or marketing executives, make sure whoever you're searching for, that's clearly represented in your profile somewhere. You know, I help marketing executives. X marketing executive, or whatever it is, marketing executive coach. And I'm just using this as an example to bridge the gap, because when you send a connection to someone that has something similar on your profile, they're going to say, oh, that makes sense why Elyse wants to connect with me, because she's an ex marketing executive that now coaches others. I'm a current one. It may be good for us to connect on LinkedIn. So making sure that you're very intentional with who you're searching and connecting for. So that's number 2. Number 3 is messaging. And I think this is where everything gets literally flushed down the toilet, because I see so many spammy, gross, verbal vomit messages being sent on LinkedIn, where it's like paragraph after paragraph, or, hey, Scott, just want to introduce myself, and this is what I'm doing. And they're literally vomiting all over you. That is not how you create a connection. You don't send someone a link without asking. You do not send them a schedule to your calendar link without asking. You don't send them a video to look at without asking. You don't do any of that. There's a 3-step process to properly messaging someone, and it's not using Duck Soup. So if you have Duck Soup, cancel it. People are now sensing automation, because if someone accepts your connection and you have Duck Soup, it's going to automatically send that welcome message instantaneously. So if you make a connection with someone, you want to nurture it. You want to wait 48, 72 hours to send that warm welcome message, because if you're sending it right away, they know that it could be a robot that's actually doing it for you. Automation should never be used when it comes to human connection. That should be created by you and you only. So if you are going to message someone, number 1, you state the person's name. So, hey, Elyse, great to be connected to you. The second is the body of the message, which is stating without pitching or selling your reason for reaching out, letting that person know why. Here's why I reached out. Hey, Elyse, great to connect with you. I saw that you had a podcast, as do I. Would love to hear about it and share more about mine. So that's the reason why I'm reaching out. The third part is finishing with something called a CTA, a call to action. You have to ASK to GET. You have to ask to get. So if you don't ask a question, you're never going to get an answer. So if you say, Elyse, let me know if you have time for a call ever. Have a great day. Well, she's never going to let me know because I've never asked for a specific time. I would finish by saying, do you have any time this or next week to hop on a call to learn more about each other and how we can support each other here on LinkedIn? And you just basically state the name, reason for reaching out, a call to action, and I guarantee you guys, without even reading my book or taking my course, just doing that, you're going to get people responding back to you. And fourth and final, and the most important in the 4 layers of the LinkedIn layer cake, is content. Right now, LinkedIn is having a Facebook 2012 moment. Engagement has never been higher, visibility has never been higher, and it's grossly underpriced as far as the attention. Gary Vee just jumped on board this about a year ago. I've been on the train like you, Elyse, for the last 5 years, but people are just starting to listen to us because Gary Vee is finally saying it. Now, whether that's true or not, it's the truth. Right now, when I mean you guys all have to be the undisputed champions of content creation, you do. Putting out one piece of content is going to make you stand out. And I teach my clients, and whenever I speak, whether it's an in-person keynote or online, it's being a salmon in a world of fish. It's doing things that other people aren't doing, swimming upstream, going against the grain of what everyone else is doing on Facebook and Instagram. So producing one piece of content a day, whether it's a post that's educating, informing, doing a video that's educating, informing, writing an article that's educating and informing, because the more value you deliver, the more monetary value you're going to get back with clients hiring you, because the more that you give, the more you're going to get back. So always educate and inform, whether it's engaging in groups, like I said, writing articles, doing posts, or doing videos. And you should be doing something once a day. It does not matter what time of day, because since it's an international platform, people are logging off and on all day long. So it really doesn't matter when the content is put out. Just commit to doing one piece of educating and informing content every single day. And those are the 4, honestly, base level, basic practices of how to really use LinkedIn to start getting some traction for your business.
Scott, that was so good. It was so good. And I love the layer cake analogy too, because it's so memorable. So I learned so much just listening from you there. And I'm going to I've got some time blocked out on my calendar this weekend to work on my LinkedIn. So thank you for that, because you've given me some good direction of things I'm going to focus on. This has been so informational. I mean, you're such a wealth of knowledge. And I know that this is really just like the tip of the iceberg as well, in terms of what you teach and what you know, and what people can learn from you. So tell us, if someone wants to connect with you and learn more. Obviously, we want them to be checking out your podcast, checking out your books. Tell everybody where they can go to get further connected with you.
Yeah, so I'm on all social media. So Instagram, it's at Scott Aaron. LinkedIn, Facebook, Scott Aaron. And if you want to search me on LinkedIn, if you type in Scott Aaron, Forbes, Forbes, I'm part of the Forbes Coaching Council. That's how we can connect on social. My website, scottaaron.net, houses everything. A link to my podcast, Network Marketing Made Simple. My book, the LinkedIn book for network marketing, and the free infographic or a 15-minute call, and everything that I provide. So if you go there, it houses everything, the free infographic. But I love connecting with people. I consider myself a human connection specialist and expert, because that's what I've done my entire life. And I know everyone has that inside of them. So I do want to do my best and do my due diligence to teaching people how to build the right business and brand the right way, which is connecting with people in a very authentic, genuine, and real way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, everything you shared today was just so helpful, so informative. And I can tell, like, just getting to know you the past couple of months and learning from you and connecting with you, it's like, I know you really genuinely mean that. So thank you for everything you shared with us today. And you're going to help all of us go out and connect with more people and build our brands and build our profiles and help serve in the way we're being called to serve. So I really, really appreciate your generosity and sharing your wisdom.
Well, Elyse, again, just grateful for you and your friendship, and for giving me the space to share what I love so much. And
And I just hope the audience took something away from this that's going to push that needle forward to really creating the life that they deserve. So thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, you heard it here. Go connect with Scott. Go follow him. Get his ebook, get his books, connect with him for a call about LinkedIn, and just go take this wisdom into your life, into your business to help you elevate your brand, connect with more people, and serve the world in a greater way. Bye for now.